There's been a lot of volatility in the summer for the price of Brent crude, but no real direction. So what's the next move? Is it now time to sell short, or actually the trend since April 2020 is still fine and we should be looking to buy the dips? I thought it'd be interesting to do an update on Brent crude. Given some of the moves we've seen over the last couple of months, it did punch out in July to its best levels for 2.5 years, but progress since then has been pretty sideways. Lots of volatility day to day, some good short-term moves, but no real change in direction. So I thought, let's take a look at it and do an update. If you've watched any of our other videos, you know what a fan I am of following trends. And we do still have this uptrend in place for Brent crude, arguably confirmed again in August of just over a month ago, as it pushed back to that trend line around $64 the market. It bounced higher again, a good move off that trend. So I thought, let's see what the trend could be for crude. I do have at the moment just the one trade running on crude oil, and it's West Texas crude. I think it's one we did in a live stream right down here at the bottom. So currently short on that from $71.58. That's about $1 in profit. But the last Brent crude trade we did got closed out last week, actually. So we were long crude and ended up coming out for about a £400 profit on that trade. So we don't have a Brent trade at the moment. We'll see if we can rectify that in this video. So as usual, I'll talk a bit about what's been going on with oil, what the challenges might be in the months ahead, and where I think it might go. Then we'll come back and look at things in a bit more detail and set the trade up. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought we'd do an update on Brent crude, an outlook perhaps over the next few months towards the end of the year. Have a look at some of the recent news around Brent, what's been driving the price. We have seen a bit of a sideways market, I think, over the last couple of months. So go through some of that news, look at the levels, then jump onto the platform, take a look at the charts in a bit more detail, and see if we can set up another trade. As usual, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could click on subscribe, it does help support the channel. It means we can continue to push out lots of different content throughout the week on the various markets we cover. Plus, of course, now every Friday at 2:30 in the afternoon UK time, I now do a live stream direct from this YouTube channel where we look at oil and a whole host of other markets. If you're subscribed with the alarm bell notification clicked, you get a message off YouTube just as we're about to go live. Right, let's get into it. Take a look at Brent oil in a bit more detail. So we had seen a strong performance for the oil price off the April lows, April 2020 lows into July of this year. We saw oil hit a 2.5-year high in July, best levels for Brent since I think it was October 2018. But we have seen the price perhaps struggle a little bit since then. We haven't seen those highs taken out. We've seen lots of volatility, but no real direction. In OPEC, in July from OPEC, we heard they reached the deal to phase out the production cuts by September 2022. So OPEC, the oil producing cartel, had put production cuts in place over the last 12, 15 months or so during the pandemic. As demand dropped, they reined in production, but production is being ramped up again following that agreement in July. So I think that's perhaps something that is weighing on the price of oil. During August, there were a few things knocking the price. We had weaker than expected economic data out of China. So again, the concern here was, well, is the global economic recovery starting to slow down? I think oil is a good barometer for what's going on with the wider economy. So that did spook all markets a little. Then we saw the spread of the Delta variant of the coronavirus. The concern was, again here, could we have to see potential lockdowns and economies go back into deep freeze for a bit? I think those concerns have perhaps gone away, or at least lessened since August. But that was, I think, a couple of the reasons we saw price volatility for Brent crude. But it has led the International Energy Agency, the IEA, has said that oil demand, it expects it to continue to increase for the rest of this year, but at a slower rate than was first forecast because of the Delta variant and perhaps a bit of a slowdown in the China economy. But OPEC has boosted its forecast for 2022 growth in oil. So it does see demand increasing next year. So OPEC getting more bullish into next year for demand for oil. But the question is, as ever, with all of this, how much of this is already priced into the markets? Markets don't sit around waiting for 2022 to happen and see what demand is like. That will have an impact on the price of oil now. Is it already priced in? We'll take a look at the levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the platform and see what the trade could be. So I think we do have a band of resistance formed by recent highs running from about $75.65 to $77.50. I think if we did see that July high, that 2.5-year high broken, then $80 seems an obvious short-term target for the price of oil. On the downside, quite a bit of support on the way up, just the other side of $70 a barrel, $69.70 from towards the end of August. But as usual, let's not talk too much about the numbers. Let's have a look at them on the charts, see where we are in the trend for oil and see if there's a trade to do here. So let's start things off. We'll come back to that trend in a second. First of all, let's take a look at the RSI down here. I mean, it has pushed near overbought over the last couple of days. We haven't pushed into overbought. The last time the market was overbought from a 10-day RSI point of view was June through to early July, when we eventually saw that 2.5-year high hit. So it's near an extreme, or it has been near an extreme on the RSI, but we haven't popped into overbought yet. Let's go back and look at this trend. Now, that trend is still up in Brent oil. If we take it off the lows that we saw in April of 2020, when the cash price, dipped below $20 briefly, that trend is still up. So if the market was trading sort of nearer 64, I'd be interested in being a buyer, because we know, or we have seen, what a floor for the price of oil $64 has been going back to April of this year. So that's 5 months we've seen the price well supported by 64. But I just wonder, given perhaps the nerves we've seen over the last 2.5 months or so, that it really is struggling in this sort of 76 to 77.50 area. Are we going to see it under a bit more pressure in the weeks and the months to come? So I wonder if we'll see perhaps more of a sideways market into year end and perhaps a drift down again to the mid $60. Let's just take this chart out. So historically, you can see where we are. Back in April 2019, those old highs around $75 proved to be a problem. Then we had Jan 2020, just before the market sold off, $70 was something of a problem. I think if we do see this market start to set fresh highs for the recovery, then perhaps our target is going to be back up here, October 2018 highs, about $86, perhaps that sort of level. We'll see. We'll see how things sort of pan out from there and whether it can get back up to those October highs. But I think at the moment, I do fancy selling short because of the risk reward. Let's flip it over to an hourly. So here's the hourly chart going back over the last couple of months. So you can see what a problem 76 through to those highs, 77.50 has been for the crude oil price. At the moment, it's trading at $73.60. And I just wonder if we're going to go back and take a look at these lows, which were only less than a month ago, down at $65. So I think the trade I want to do is sell short. So sell short Brent oil. And I'll sell it here. I'll sell it where it is here. I think that the closest I would want my stop, the absolute closest, would be above that 15th September high, around about 75.70. But I'm actually going to give it a bit more breathing room because we're doing this video for the rest of the year. I'm going to set it above the high we saw in July. So the highs in July were 77.50. Let me go 78 for a stop. So only $4.50 higher than where we are now. $4.50, we all know the oil price can move pretty quickly. So it's a wide-ish stop, I think, but it's not too ridiculous considering the volatility in the market. Let me set the trade up. So I'm ready to go. The price at the moment is around $73.60. I'm going to sell 77 barrels. I'm going to put my stop loss at $78. So if the price jumps out to new highs for the year, I'll be out of the trade for a loss. And that's for the usual risk of around £250 that we take on these trades. Let's send that trade through. There we go. So the trade's open short 77 oil at $73.57 in the end. And I do think it's an interesting market. That trend is still up. So I am breaking one of my rules here by going against that major trend. But given perhaps the sideways trading over the last couple of months, I think it is an interesting trade up here. Stops just above that old high from July. Let's see how it pans out, and let's see if we do get a retest of the sort of the 64 zone in the weeks ahead at least. I think if we start to break below there, then it does look like this trend is in trouble and perhaps $60 left. But we'll take it step by step. We'll come back and do the updates and see how this trade works out. That's it for the update in Brent crudes. I do think perhaps we'll just see at best a sideways range perhaps for the rest of 2021. I'd change my opinion if it broke through those highs in July, but at the moment perhaps a little bit weaker. Let's see, we'll come back and do our regular updates, but for now, from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your trading. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.